You're listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, where I'll be giving valuable insight and thought-provoking perspectives about the connections between our hair and how we live our daily lives. I know that many of you have heard people talking about jerry curls and pressing curls, high top fades and sporting waves, the best products for your hair, and so much more. But what you haven't heard is how our hair can be a full reflection of what's going on in our hearts, what's going on in our minds, what's going on in our bodies, and what's going on in our souls. I'm your host, Darius Peace, and I'm excited to be your weekly guide on the journey to having better hair and a better life.
Mr. Darius Peace. You want to know why I called you Mr. today?
Yeah.
My father's favorite basketball player of all time is James Worthy.
Okay.
Played for the Los Angeles Lakers. And whenever he refers to him, or I bring him up, he calls him Mr. Emphasis, Mr. James Worthy, just because of how magnificent he thought he was on the court. So it's a level of respect that I learned from a very young age. I respected you from the first time I met you. And just as we continue to create and collaborate, that expectation grows higher and higher. No pressure. It grows higher and higher. So when I'm talking about you from now on, it's going to be Mr. Darius Peace.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll take it. Mr. Flowers. The respect is reciprocal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So what we said we were going to do for people, we actually got a really interesting show coming their way today. But before we dive into it, I asked you to talk to your audience just a little bit about, you know, what you've learned. We've had your launch party. And just so people, here's what I want people to understand, Darius. I want them to understand what this product is versus what it isn't and never will be.
Yeah.
Can you help us understand that?
So some of the feedback that we got when we did the soft listening launch was that people liked Club Shay Shay and that they wanted something that was like that. And so I was like, well, for those who want Club Shay Shay, they should continue to, or you should continue to listen to Club Shay Shay, because I'm not Club Shay Shay. And although I think that I applaud what Shannon Sharp does on his broadcast, I'm not doing that. Like, there's a lot of mess that takes place in that, and a lot of unnecessary controversy, and I'm not here for that. I'm not a messy man. I don't do anything that creates a severing of relationships. I help to cultivate and build and maintain relationships. So I'm not here for the mess. If you want mess, then there are plenty of other podcasts that you can listen to. But I'm all about quality information, quality content, and making sure that if there's something that I'm lacking in it, that I'm able to bring in experts who can help to fortify whatever my message is.
Yeah, that was one of the things we did receive feedback-wise, is to maybe have guests and experts on, which I was pleased to read that, because we had already talked about doing that, right? So it very much told me that we're on a good path.
Yeah, because that's what people are saying, that they're used to listening to podcasts where there are co-hosts. And I was letting a lot of people know at the launch that right now there won't be a co-host for the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast right now. There will be guests to come and add value to the show, but right now it's just me and just my voice, and the only other voice that you're likely to hear right now is our magnificent producer, Mr. Flowers.
So that leads me into what we're doing today.
Yeah.
I want you to do two things for our listeners worldwide. I want you to tell us what the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast is, because you did a great job of saying what it is,
what it ain't.
Yeah, we not, you know, and no shade, no shade to Shannon Sharp.
Absolutely
or
not.
Anybody that plays in that arena.
Yeah, because there's a space for that.
That's just not our space.
It's not.
So I want you to do two things. I want you to tell people who and what we are, and I want you to tie that into the excellent topic you told me we got for today.
Oh, yeah. So the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast is specifically paralleling or connecting the experiences that we have with our hair with the experiences that we have in our everyday lives. And I've told different people that that's what we do. And they're just like, well, how are you able to connect those two things? And I'm like, listen and see. Like, that's how you'll find out, because there are so many connections that showcase similarities with our hair, the condition of our hair, the shape of our hair, and how we live our lives, the condition of our lives, our mental health, all of that stuff. So I'm just excited to show that as well as grow in that.
Leading to today's topic of...
Well, let me start off this way. I was talking to one of my homeboys who is also a beauty industry colleague of mine, and I came to the realization in that conversation that I love polygamy. Okay, wait a minute. Let me clear that up. Okay, let me clear that up, because I don't want my wife listening to this podcast sitting up there thinking like, "What the hell you mean you like polygamy? Oh, is that what you want? Okay, you might as well walk your ass out the door, because I ain't about that life." And so, for what I mean is, when I say I love polygamy in the sense of that's how I like for my client stylist relationship to be. I don't like the lifestyle of polygamy. That's not what I practice. But, I got a lot of clients, and I got a special relationship with all of my clients. But as your hairstylist, I want to be the only hairstylist. I can have a lot of clients, and I be the only hairstylist, but you as the client can only have one hairstylist. You can't have a bunch of me. Like, that's just not what I want. So if I find out that you got another one, you might get dropped. I'm just saying, you might have to walk your ass out the door. But so that's what I mean by that. I want to be the only one. And if I find out that you got another hairstylist outside of me that I don't know about, yeah, I'm dropping your ass. You going out the door quick, immediately. So for many of you who may not know what polygamy is, I was telling you, I was talking to one of my homeboys, and we got into this conversation about the parallels that exist between polygamy and hairstylists. And I was like, wait a minute. As barbers and as hairstylists, we are very polygamous in our approach to relationships, because we want to be the only ones. But we feel some kind of way when we find out that you, as the client, have other hairstylists that we don't know about. And that throws us off on so many levels. So I'm going to parallel those right quick. Even though this is not the main topic that we're discussing today, I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was a hilarious conversation between me and my homie. So, well, before I go into that, we're in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was telling me that there is a lot of polygamy going on in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was like, is he talking about polygamy or polyamory? Because they're two different things. So let's differentiate the two. Polygamy is a marital relationship in which the man or the woman has multiple spouses. Polyamory is a relationship in which there are multiple lovers or multiple sex partners, and all of it involves consent. So there's no cheating in any of these relationships because everybody is aware of other people being involved in the dynamic or in the collective. Now, polygyny is different because it involves one male who has multiple wives. And so it is very specific to a male having multiple wives. And so in this case, I think that I liken my hairstylist client relationship to that of a polygynous relationship and not a polygamous relationship. I know it's a lot of polys and all of this going on, but I'm just breaking it down so that everybody is clear and aware of what the differences are. So my homeboy clearly meant polyamorous relationships, and he was talking about all of the different I'll say sects, SECTS, sects of relationships like this in Alabama. So he started telling me, yeah, man, there are people who come to the barbershop and they tell me about these different polyamorous communities, and they usually take place in the suburbs. And I said, what? The suburbs? And he was like, yeah, man, they got their own, culture and way of doing things. They got signs that let people know that they're about that life. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Upside down pineapples.
Wait a minute. So that was one of the things that I found out. I was like, so if you're So if you're shopping in the grocery store in the suburbs where polyamory is, a common thing, you may see someone with an upside down pineapple inside of their buggy, or you may be walking around unknowingly with an upside down pineapple in your buggy. Why? Wondering why somebody is offering a throuple opportunity to you, and it's because you're putting the sign out there. So clearly, that's one of the known signs for the secret society of polyamorous relationships in the suburbs. That when you're walking in the grocery store, yeah, just turn that pineapple over, and I know that you about that life, which is just so crazy. And so that was one, but then another example that he gave, and these are all hilarious, was if you're in a relationship and just maybe two people or a family, and you leave the garage door halfway open, that's also a sign that you're open to a polyamorous relationship. And I said, "What the heck? Wait a minute!" So if you forget to let your garage door down all the way, you might have somebody coming up to you initiating a quad or a throuple or what is it? Just one of those situations where they want to get it on with you and a whole bunch of other people. So I'm just putting it out there. That was so funny to me. Now, I know that polygyny, and polyamory ain't for everybody. And to me, that's why establishing compatibility is so important in establishing relationships. So knowing up front what you want and what you don't want is something that'll help bring a lot of clarity and really progress in the future and the longevity of a lot of relationships. Which brings me to the main topic of this episode of the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast today. We're talking about the parallels of romantic dating and shopping around for a hairstylist. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about it, y'all, but right after a word from our sponsors.
Speakers, coaches, experts, and entrepreneurs. Whether you're keynoting events, growing your business, or commanding the boardroom, you are highly skilled and accomplished at what you do. But something's missing. You don't have a cohesive brand to match your level of success. But not to worry, that's where we come in. We're Honeysuckle Lane Creative Co., and we create stunning visuals that capture the essence of your business and give you the online presence of your dreams. With a full suite of creative services, including photography, web design, graphic design, and marketing strategy, we make sure you're as extraordinary online as you are in your area of expertise. Ditch the DIY and work with an experienced team that gets results. Find us online at honeysucklelanecreative.com and on Instagram at honeysuckle_creative. Let's bring your brilliance to life with an unforgettable brand.
And we are back talking about the parallels of romantic dating and shopping around for a hairstylist. Now, I've been married for a long time, y'all, like over 20 some years. And so regarding going on a new romantic date, I don't have that current experience. I haven't done that in, like I said, over 20 some years. And however, I do hear a lot about the dating scene while I'm standing behind the chair in the salon. And on the other hand, I kind of get a taste of dating because I experience new clients all the time. And so although there is not a romantic date in that situation, it still showcases the establishment of a new relationship, seeing where this is going to go. Is this going to become long term, or is this something that's short term? So, but based on many of the stories that I hear in the salon, there really are a lot of parallels that exist between being on a romantic date and shopping around for a hairstylist. So I remember recently I had one young lady who was in the chair, and she was telling me about her just being back on the dating scene, because the last time we had spoken, she was just like, I'm just so over it, it just ain't nothing out here on these streets. But then she came back and told me that she went on a date, and I was like, okay, cool, well, tell me about the date. How did it go? And she was like, well, I mean, it was okay, we had casual conversation, and it just didn't go anywhere. I was like, well, did you what are you gonna do about it? She was like, we fucked, it went there, and it was good. So I mean, that may be all it is. Maybe we'll just, keep it casual sex and just go from there. And so I was sitting up there thinking like, wow, well, keeping it casual sex, that may start off good, but I don't know whether that's going to necessarily end well, because there's always a dynamic in these situations that's going to want more in the long run, no matter how you think, oh, it's cool, we just chilling, we just kicking it. But soon down the line, or somewhere down the line, somebody is going to, as they say, catch feelings, and they're going to want something more, or they're not going to want you to move on to somebody else. And if you do, they're going to be feeling some kind of way about it. And that's something that happens in the hairstylist client relationship, where you may have someone who is like just shopping around for hairstylists, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is working. We get into the session and we're having casual conversation, but we're not talking about what it is that you may want or what you may need in this hairstylist relationship. What's going on with your hair? You just get your hair done, and just like that sex that she was talking about was so good, you might get a style that is the bomb, but then you got to deal with some other issues that may come along with that hairstylist relationship that was poorly communicated at the beginning. So now you get in that stylist and you schedule multiple appointments, and you just come to find out that the stylist is always late, or the stylist is unprofessional, doing things, coming smelling like weed, smelling like chicken, smelling like food, doing all the unprofessional stuff. But that's because there was nothing established at the beginning, because the conversation was so casual. But we kept fucking. Well, fucking in this case is just like, I'm just doing your hair and I'm giving you a bomb style because she said it was good. So giving you this bomb style is the synonym, what's similar to it being good. So that was her. But I had another situation where a woman came in recently and got a consultation, and she had all the right questions. She was prepared. She knew what she wanted. It was like a bomb ass first date. And I was like, so this is what, a good first date must be like, because I clearly don't know. And I really don't want to know, because I have not been on these streets in a long time. So that's something that I just kind of parallel to it. But after that really wonderful consultation took place, it made me think about dating and the hair relationship, and how these two can parallel, and we can really learn a lot from both on approaching either or to establish a really healthy dynamic in the long run. So that's what I want to talk about today, establishing a really healthy dynamic in the long run, whether you're dating or whether you're shopping around for a hairstylist. And there are so many reasons that people may shop around for a hairstylist. I've had clients to come and go over the years, and it's for a lot of different reasons. Some people's jobs may relocate them, putting them back on the market to shop for a hairstylist. Some people have never gotten their hair done before, and it's just like, you know what? I've been doing my own hair all this time. I want to, delegate that to somebody else to do it. And the reasons vary, but whatever the reasons are, same with dating. You may be newly divorced and back on these streets dating again. You may have experienced a breakup, you're dating again. You may have relocated and the relationship just didn't work for that, and it's just like, hey, I'm back on the market again. Whatever it is, I think that the tools or the suggestions that I'm coming with today can help to fortify the experience of both. And I like to parallel these because in the beauty salon, that's one of the most common topics that people will bring up to their hairstylist, their love life. So, the love relationship and the hair relationship work together so well. So why not talk about this? I am not a dating expert. I am not an expert on any of the romantic fields. I have my experience with romance, and I'm grateful for my experience with romance because it's been going on for over 20 years now. But I'm not out here telling you how to date. I'm telling you how to have a more fortified experience with finding a hairstylist that can be used in shopping around for a date as well. I think they could work, but I won't know. If you try it out, let me know. That's what our social media is all about. So you can actually throw that in to the comments in our social media and let us know. Hey, I tried what you said, Mr. Peace, and it worked for me or it didn't work for me. And this is why. I want to hear your story. But until we get to that point, I want to talk about something that I read online, researching how to have healthy relationships. They call it the 5 C's of healthy relationship. And those 5 C's are communication, compatibility, commitment, care, and compromise. And so when I read those, I was like, okay, I can see how those could work in the romantic dating field while also working in the establishment of a healthy hair relationship with your client and between the client and the stylist. So when the article talked about communication, it stated that effective communication is vital in any relationship, and it involves listening to each other, expressing thoughts and feelings honestly and respectfully, and resolving conflicts in a healthy way. Now, I know that that's something that many of us struggle with, especially when you're talking about communication. That's what they're saying with dating, and I'm going to parallel that to how that works with hairstylists and clients. So we're talking about listening to each other. As a stylist, it is very important for me and us to listen to what the client is saying that they're wanting, what it is that they're needing. If they're saying, hey, I'm experiencing some breakage here or some shedding there or scalp inflammation or irritation, we need to hear those things so that we know where to go. But if we're not listening to them, we're less likely to be able to accommodate what their needs are, and we can actually further the damage that they may be experiencing, and we don't want to do that. So that's why that part of the communication, the listening part, is so important. Communication is not us always talking and expressing our expertise, but in many cases entails us listening. That's one thing my wife is always telling me, listen, I need you to listen. And that's something that I'm learning more and more every day, how to listen, so that my communication with her is more effective and more productive and more progressive in the long run. And I'm able to incorporate that into how I operate in the salon setting with my clients. Expressing thoughts and feelings honestly and respectfully. That's important. I think that you're shampooing my head too hard, or I don't like the way my hairstyle looks right now, instead of, not saying anything and just enduring a painful or a lackluster shampoo, or not liking your style and walking out the door without saying anything. That's a communication issue, and the relationship between the client and stylist is less likely to move forward and grow and become long term if that doesn't take place, that honesty doesn't take place. And that's something that takes place in a lot of dating relationships, where you go into a situation where you're not honest from the jump. And we're going to go into I'm going to go into some specific questions that will work with hairstylists and clients and dating dynamics, but we're going to do that at the end because that's just the solution. So that's the communication part. Communication, their feelings and the thoughts respectfully and honestly. And then resolving conflicts in a healthy way. So if your stylist just happens to come late or arrive late, or if your client arrives late, fussing at them like, where the hell you been? Like, I got somebody coming after you. That's not the right way to handle that. There is a good way to communicate that to them. And that's letting them know what your policies are for that, if you have any, and doing it in a way that keeps it professional. So, and the same thing with a date. If your date arrived late, what the hell, what took you so long? Was it somebody else? And it's like, nah, if that's a problem for you, then if they're late like that, especially over 15 minutes, then you can just go home. And that way it doesn't even have to turn into that kind of conflict. So there's that. The second C is compatibility. And the compatibility is referring to shared values, interests, and the goals that bring us together with somebody. And those are things that we can express on a date, and discover on a date our compatibility. Are we compatible? Or if we're dealing with our shopping around for a new stylist, I'm a person with natural hair. Does this stylist right here even do natural hair? If they are a specialist in relaxed hair, then that may showcase some incompatibility with that relationship. And so you can go on ahead and move forward from there. Commitment. Now, at the beginning of this podcast, I talked about the commitment component. When I expressed my love for polygamy, I'm talking about the commitment to me. I want to be your only one, the only one. Now, you're not going to be my only one, but I want to be your only one. And I'm going to take good care of you. I'm going to make sure that your hair healthy. I'm going to make sure all those things. But if you, and I give you the option to make that commitment to working exclusively with me in that regard and letting me take care of you and a whole bunch of other people. They kind of like your sister wives of the salon or your sister husbands of the salon, your brother husbands of the salon. But y'all have that, we're all family, where I'm the head of the family. I just need that to be understood. If you can't commit to that, then that's something that you can make a decision from the beginning, even assessing the compatibility with whether this is a commitment that you want to make. Because I'm committed to you. I'm committed to healthy hair. And we're going to go into how that goes into dating. You know, we've been on several dates and I see that we are compatible. So I think that I want to showcase some commitment to this. But you have to be clear in your communication about that commitment. We're bringing all these C's together now. Like, is this, I'd like to move forward in a committed, exclusive relationship with each other. Is that something that we can do? Is that something that you'd like to do? And you just go from there. So the fourth C is care. Care in a relationship involves the showing of love, affection, support from your partner, and this can be shown through, especially in the romantic scene, through small gestures of kindness and empathy and consideration for each other's well-being. And in the salon setting, you know, the care is showcased in your, I call it, chairside manner with your clients, the tone of voice that you're using with them, you know, the level of finesse that you offer in your touch and the way you care for their hair, the way you're able to showcase growth and success with whatever their overall goals may be with their hair is where that comes in. And then compromise. That's the fifth C in the 5 C's of having a healthy relationship. So relationships require compromise from both people. You know, and this means we're finding a common ground and making sacrifices to meet whatever each other's needs are. That's something that takes place in the romantic relationship dynamic, but it also takes place in the client and stylist relationship. So I really enjoyed researching and learning about those 5 C's of building a healthy relationship. And that's an article that I read. It was written by Kelly Smith Keller with Mount Marty University. So if you want to look that up, you can check her out. But I thought it was really good. So I want to go into, well, let's take a quick break and hear another word from our sponsors, and then we'll dive back into that again.
Hi, I'm Danielle Hines, the owner and founder of Creed 63. Creed 63 is located in the Arthur Shores Law Center in the Birmingham Civil Rights District. Creed 63 does 4 things for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We have a podcast studio, co-working space, virtual offices, and private offices. Stop by anytime you are in the Civil Rights District to see how Creed 63 can help you grow and expand your small business. You can find us at creed63.com.
Okay, Darius, I told you I had a joke to make.
Let's do it.
As you were laying everything out for us, I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if I agree. I think I'm gonna have to jump in here because I don't agree with what he's saying. But then I thought about it from a producer standpoint, right? And how unrealistically angry I get when I see my artist recording somewhere else. I'm saying that because that's actually happened recently. Now the backstory is that that particular creative was going to a newly open location just to get them some pub, and all during their recording. Yeah, my home studio is Creed 63. So we got the shout out. But before I knew all that, just seeing my artist with somebody else, I was ready to fight.
They didn't say nothing. Like, they should have said something like,
I got cheated on.
Because you like polygamy. You want to be the only one. I'm your man. I'm the only one. If you want to switch out, you need to let me know so I can make a decision on how this is going to go, but I own you. Now, that's not it. He does not own. I don't own you.
Anime.
Yeah, eat the cake anime. No, I'm just playing. So that is hilarious to me. My gosh. So I'm really like that though. Like I'm like that. I feel you, bro. I feel you. I promise I do. So we're back and we're talking about solutions for creating a healthy, compatible hairstylist and client relationship while also creating a healthy romantic dating relationship. So I have a a series of questions that I have known to work in the hair when shopping around for hairstylists. And these have been pretty effective for me in my experience as a hairstylist. But when I'm sending people out, when they say I have to leave because my job is relocated me to go work somewhere else, these are some of the questions that I equip them with so that they can have a better experience with finding a compatible stylist. Even though they're not going to find another me because I'm the only one, they'll still find somebody else to take care of them. So in the case of the stylist, because I deal with a lot of hairstylists too when I'm educating with them and teaching them how to vet or qualify a client to even sit in their chair to see if it's even compatible. These are the questions that I have for them, for the stylist to the client. So, number one, what are your hair needs? That's important to ask. What are your hair needs? And that refers to if you're someone who is experiencing inflammation of the scalp, or you're on a certain medication that the dermatologist has prescribed for you to be able to use because you have a diagnosis that needs to be treated. Well, that may be a hair need or a type of hair need that you want to discuss at the beginning with your hairstylist as you're shopping around. Number two, and this is all in the consultation phase because they may not even make it to doing hair. What are your hair goals? Like, are you wanting to grow your hair out and wear it long? Are you wanting to thicken your hair? Are you looking to keep it short and cropped and sassy? Are you wanting to lock your hair and just have whatever it is, whatever your hair goals are? That's something that we need to be able to ask. What are the goals so that we know where to go and how to grow in this relationship? What is your schedule for consistency? Like, can you come every 2 weeks? Can you come every week? Can you come every 4 weeks? How consistent can you be with coming to me as a stylist? What's your budget? Like, what are you expecting to spend with the consistency that you say you can come? Because if you have this budget set aside, we can know from the beginning whether this is going to work. Does this fall into my price range? Yes or no? And if it does or does not, here are the hairstyles that will fall into whatever your budget is. And what is your expectation for me as a hairstylist? What are you wanting from me? What do you expect? Just laying that out so that you can move forward with or not move forward with the relationship, having some clarity on if this is a fit or not. And then, are you a more dominant or more submissive client? Meaning, are you someone who is looking for me to choose styles for you, or are you going to choose your own style with less to little input from me? And that's something to know up front, so you know how far to go as far as your opinion is concerned regarding what their desires may be with their hair or whatever your suggestion is. So that's for the stylist to the client with, on the, shopping around for a hairstylist. Now, as far as the client to the stylist questions are concerned, they fall under this category right here. What is your styling proficiency and expertise? So if you know that you're someone who chooses to rock natural curls, or you're someone who's deciding, I'm wearing locks, you want to vet that hairstylist and ask them, what is your styling proficiency? What is your expertise? Does it fall in line with what I want with my hair, which is natural hair, natural curls, or locks? And do you have showcases of your work? Because I wasn't able to find a lot online. I didn't see a lot on social media. Do you have a portfolio or something that can show me what it is that you do? Can you expertly address my hair needs? Like, do you have any expertise in this regard? Can you really consult me in moving forward? Like, for instance, hair color. I like wearing red hair colors, but I don't know whether that's the best showcase of tone for my complexion, whether it works in the professional sector. Can you expertly address my hair needs in that regard? Can you accommodate my hair goals? Do you have a track record of helping people reach a desired hair length? Are you an expert at helping to restore hair when we've experienced loss, or in the case of me experiencing hair loss? And these are really good questions to be able to ask. And if that stylist is not able to answer those questions, that will let you know how far you want to go in that relationship. What is your schedule for availability? I know for me, I only work on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. And if you're someone who is only available on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays and Saturdays, then I'm not the stylist for you. And so that schedule availability is critical. What is your timeline for results? There are a lot of people who may be experiencing hair loss, or they want to experiencing more hair growth, and they want to know when can I expect to see some results? And I'm one of those stylists who can let you know, hey, if you stick with me every 2 weeks if you can come to me every 2 weeks on a consistent basis, then I can guarantee you that after a 6-month period, you're going to experience a noticeable growth with your hair, noticeable amount of growth with your hair. So that's something that you can easily ask a stylist. What is that timeline for results? What are your prices, and do they fluctuate depending on length and density? And that's something that's really important, because you don't want to sit in the chair and you got this long, thick hair, and the stylist just surprises you with, oh yeah, your hair is real long and thick. The price just went up to this, but you only budgeted for that right there. So that's a really good question to ask. What are your business policies regarding cancellations and tardiness? Like, that's something to know, because if you have to cancel at the last minute because of an emergency, you want to know if you're able to even get your deposit back, if there's still a fee that's owed, or what happens if you're tardy. What are the policies? Do you because you can ask the stylist this, do you comply with your policy? For example, what happens when you arrive late, or if you're if you're having to cancel at the last minute, do I get anything back with that? Or are there any perks that I can experience with that if you're late? And then what are your expectations for the stylist? Like, letting us know what you're expecting from us. That's important. Because when we know that puts us in the mode, okay, I know that this client expects this of me, and so I need to make sure that I am always on my A game, that I do not lose whatever it is that they're expecting of me. And again, are you a dominant or submissive stylist regarding hair relationship? Because I'm someone who is a leader in my job, and I have to think about everything all the time. And so when I come to the salon, I don't want to have to think. So I would like to know, are you someone who can dominate this relationship, or be dominant in this relationship with guiding me on the best styles and the best options for me based on what the information I'm giving you about my lifestyle? Or are you somebody that's going to require me choose my style because you don't want to own the responsibility for that type of power or control? So that's how I would suggest someone move forward in establishing a healthy hairstylist and client relationship. Now, again, I have not been on the dating scene in over 20-something years, y'all. So although I think theoretically, it seems that these questions can work with dating, but I don't know, because when I heard my client telling me that she was having a casual conversation and really didn't ask a lot of questions on the date, and I'm not saying that the dating should be this stressful, tense interview or anything like that, but there are some questions that do need to be presented in a date so that you really know where you're going. And if you're dealing with someone who doesn't want to answer the questions, or someone who doesn't want to ask the questions, that may showcase some incompatibility at the very beginning, and you can just bypass a whole bunch of obstacles by just calling that short. But if you do want to try a similar approach to these questions on a date, it may go something like this. What are your relationship needs? Like, what are some things that you notice about yourself? Are you someone who likes hugs? Are you someone who likes gifts? Do you like a lot of attention? Do you like spending a lot of time together? Like, what are your needs? And, I think that that's a valid, what do you think, Eric? I think that that's a valid question to ask. And I know a lot of this may seem very unrealistic, but as I keep prefacing, I ain't been on no new date in a long time. And so although I think that when I encounter a new client, in the salon, that's like them dating me, especially when they come in for a consultation so that they can make a decision on whether they want to keep moving forward with me and be one of my many clients and I be they only one, they number one. Is this something that seems realistic? And because I'm just putting these questions out as a possibility, especially for people who, hey, I've been dating and I've been experiencing some failed dates, so maybe I should try these questions to see if that can give me a better experience.
I think all of us should be more conscious in how we date.
Yeah.
Right down to our hairstylist. As you've been breaking this down for us, I've thought about me and the times where I've had excellent barbers, and then the times where I had to find somebody else because I felt that I was always frustrated. And I'm like, damn, if I would have put certain things to them in the way that you laid it out today, maybe it would have been a better experience.
Yeah.
It could very well have been I stated what I needed from them, and they still weren't doing it. So okay. Now,
but I like that you said maybe, because
right.
it's always a maybe. These are just to increase the likelihood of success.
What I got stuck on and have been over here, I'm listening to you, but what I've been stuck on is compatibility. I think a lot of times, whether we are talking about personal, like with a hairstylist, or romantic, we get so stuck on how much we like the person that we ignore that we aren't really compatible.
Yes.
I'm engaged now, so not now. Now I think, we check all the boxes, including compatibility.
Yeah.
But I think back to some of the worst breakups I had.
Yeah.
And it all boiled down to, not all, but a lot of times it boiled down to we liked each other. We were both good people and trying to do right by each other. We just weren't compatible.
And I think a lot of people end up doing that, especially in romantic relationships. They'll go on a date, and when I hear people say, yeah, we just had casual conversation, well, and we just kept going, and then we started fucking from the casual conversation, and that just is an indicator of what you just said. Hey, we really liked each other, and we enjoyed each other, and we just decided to move forward with a sexual relationship without really getting to know each other and see whether we were compatible. And now, so we got this bad breakup, because there was very little clear and concrete communication of what, I'm about to ask in these things, like, what are your needs? What are your relationship goals? Are there any goals? Because there are some people, especially depending on what age you are, that may say, you know what, my goal, I really do want to be married. Or I'm just looking for a long-term partnership because I don't want to be married, or just stating what your goals are, but I do want commitment. That's something that, that's something that can be asked in what are your goals in the relationship and clarifying what that means. I asked about what is your schedule for consistency? Like, that's, even though that seems like it's really good for a client asking a hairstylist that, but I think that that's something that really should be asked on a date. Like, are you available? Because if you're someone who is a workaholic and all you do is work, or you already have a set schedule of, well, I do this on Mondays, I go roller skating on Saturdays, and I spend these many hours, like, is there any space? I mean...
Yeah. Not only space, but what kind of habits do you expect from me? The theoretical sense.
Yeah.
Me, right? Because previously, when I was single and I was dating, I had to figure out, okay, well, this person prefers that I text them throughout the day. We just we kind of chit chat throughout the day. And then the person after that was that don't hit me with small talk.
Yeah.
Text me when there's something substantial that we can talk about. But again, all of that, I keep tying this back to, man, how different my journeys could have been for my hair. I will say, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a little bit of a stigma in our community where we feel too shy? I don't want to say unsafe, but it's like, I don't really want to say that. I'm just going to let them do what they want to do when it comes to our hair.
Yeah, well, you can say shy and unsafe because, the reason that many people are shy in those situations is because they feel unsafe to be able to ask that question and it be received in a way that they get a good answer or get the answer that they want without any conflict or combat. I think that's one of the things that happens in that regard. So yeah, I just think that these questions can work. So again, I told y'all, try it out and see, and let us know in the social media feed, and maybe we can revisit this topic at another episode of the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. So, what is your budget? Like I know as a stylist to client and as a stylist to client, that's what we're asking what your budget is. But you may want to ask that on a date. Like, can you afford to date in the way that I want to date? Because if you're someone who's, I like fine dining. And let me be clear about this. Don't be holding nobody accountable for a fine dining budget and your ass working over at Family Dollar, because that means that you can't afford it either and you want somebody to do it for you. So I just wanted to put that out there. But budget is important. Like knowing that your budgets for the type of dating that you want to do is compatible. Especially with the frequency of dating, that may require certain budgets. So that you don't have to ask like exactly how much you make a year, but you do want to find out, do you have the budget to be able to date in the way that I'd like to date? And then address, hey, I have the budget to be able to date this way. So that's something that should be clear, and you'll be able to decide whether we want to split the cost or whether I want to be the one to pay or you pay sometimes, just to make a decision on how the budget is going to affect us moving forward. Because people be scared to talk about that because they don't feel safe enough to do it, because some people can feel attacked when it comes to their finances if they don't make enough or they make too much more than what the other person may make. So it's just good to discuss that. I think, again, like I said, I ain't dated in a long time. So, and sometimes I often think that if I had to get back on the dating scene, that's something that could turn a lot of people off, asking such intimate questions. But that helps me to know whether I want to move forward in this. And if they're afraid to answer, then that also lets me know this may not be a compatible relationship. What is your expectation in this relationship? Like, are you expecting sex at the end of this date? If that's what the expectation is, let's put it out there, like just so you know, because you may not want to have sex, but the person that you're dating may want to have sex at the end of it. They may want that, and so you get to find out. And if they say, yeah, I want to, and then you can say, well, I want to as well, or I don't want to because I prefer waiting until we know more about each other so that I'm not just increasing my body count, which that's a whole nother episode that we're going to bring in as long as y'all stay tuned to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. It's coming soon. But, when you talk about, body count and all that stuff, like you just may not, I don't want to increase my body count like that. I want to make sure that I got full control over that and that the relationship is one that has fortitude before I go there with a level of intimacy such as sex. So there's that. Are you dominant or submissive in relationships? Are you somebody that likes to take control, or are you somebody that likes to follow the lead? I think that these are good questions. I think that they're good questions. But again, I ain't been on the dating scene in a long time, so I really don't know. But it's pretty evident to me that there are clear parallels that exist between romantic dating and shopping around for a hairstylist. And I think that they're somewhat uncanny in many cases, but I wasn't able to cover as much as I wanted to during this episode. So if there are things that you think that I left out, again, I would love for you to comment on the social media post that pubs this episode. I'd love to hear what you got to say. So, again, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube. And you can also listen and reach out to us at the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast website, which is the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast.podbean.com. You can find us there as well. And when you're out here dating on these streets, always remember that your hair ain't nappy. And please know that I always know that my hair ain't nappy either. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. Reach out to us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we're on Facebook. All the platforms at the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. We want to hear your own stories. Until next time, love you and love your hair.